Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Boxing Unwrapped. It's Boxing Unwrapped, the boxing podcast that was prorogued by Boris Johnson last week. I'm Ryan.
Order. I'm Andrew.
And welcome to What the F is the Boxing News, guys. Really sorry we weren't with you last week, but life took over for both of us, so we were unable to speak about the events, but we've got a juicy one for you this week. So, Andy, do you want to tell the people what we've got in store for them?
Well, because we've got a little bit to go over, don't we? We've got what the F, the results from last week. What are the fights coming up this weekend? And there's quite a few to go over. What went wrong over the course of the last episode? And we have, a bumper double edition of random news. 2 weeks worth of random news, if you will. And there's a couple of gems to pick out. Crazier than a Derek Chisora news conference.
Indeed. So, why don't we dive right into what the F are the results from last week. Last week.
Do you want to... Right, I'm going to make a confession here, right?
Uh-huh.
Right, so here's my confession. So, the weekend in question, which was the headline pay-per-view card, Lomochenko Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
I was out drinking that evening, right? Not heavily, just socially. And when I finished drinking, it was too late to go home to watch the kind of the last two fights because I live out in the sticks and I have to get a bus to go home. So I made a decision. That I would look to see where, according to the website, was showing them in town. And
yes.
So I watched Huey Fury Alexander Povetkin in a casino while a Neil Diamond tribute act was crooning away about 6 feet from my ear.
Oh, well, that kind of makes you feel like you're there for the main event, right?
Exactly.
Tell me he started singing Sweet Caroline.
So what he does is he did a set, and then he has a break, and he does another set, and he ends both sets with Sweet Caroline.
Give the people what they want.
Oh, me. I then went to look for a pub that was even less suitable for watching the boxing, although they did technically have it on. And then I ended up watching the main event with, I would say, I think I texted you when I was watching it. Did I text you saying I was doing this?
Yeah.
There was about 10 or 15 of us, and they did have the sound on. It was on like a 10-foot projector, and I had a seat right in front of it, drinking a quiet pint in a snooker hall. So that's where I watched the main event.
Well, I didn't get to watch the main event from kind of the Watsy fight onwards. I was at a birthday party where none of the people were into boxing.
Right. So
I spent the entire party probably being the most sociable one because I was trying not to look at my phone the whole time. And I was also trying not to get too drunk, so I was too hungover to watch it in the morning because I bought the fight. So I was desperate to wake up at 8 a.m. and start watching the boxing.
Look at the commitment to the cause, where I am in prison. And how did the sobriety go?
It went really well. I actually drank. I brought a couple of the Bitburger driver ones.
Oh
all free.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of them, and they were quite nice, actually. I am a fan. I think they're all right for drinking, and because they're quite big bottles, no one questions whether or not you're drinking.
Yeah,
because they might not know what it is.
Yeah. It's just big lager. Oh, he's got a big one.
Lager. Oh, he's got a big lager. So I had those, and it was all right. So
nice.
It worked out well, nice and fresh for it. So let's maybe start in the order the card will have run.
Okay.
I think that maybe works.
Wait,
because we're going to have...
I may have very little comment to make for the lower portion of the cards. You might be on your own here, big man.
Well, I'm going to tell you, basically, everything went as expected for most of them.
Right, okay.
So, James Tennyson versus Atif Shafiq. Now, you might have seen highlights of this, because Tennyson absolutely floors Shafiq.
Right.
Like, have you not seen the highlight? It's a really, really nasty knockout.
Right, okay, I'll look it up.
Right, it's nasty. Joe Cordina versus Gavin Gwynn. Great fight. I really like Cordina, actually.
How are you feeling about Cordina after this one?
I like Cordina, actually. I think Joe Cordina is the fighter that Josh Kelly wishes he was. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got a bit of movement, and like he can he's got some good power. I like him. I'm a fan, and I think he's value for money.
He's more he's more technically sound, isn't he? He's got more of the fundamentals than Kelly does.
Yeah, exactly, and also he does have a bit of style in the ring as well, but he's not style over substance. Yeah, I think if that makes sense.
He's a very slick looking fighter, isn't he?
Yeah. So good result for Cordina. Boatsy versus Ryan Ford. Controversial. Because Ford thinks that he got hit below the belt. Mm-hmm. I think it's a stretch, right? However, I would say that he did test Boatsy a lot. Mm-hmm. He took Boatsy's power no problem until it kind of moved on. And actually, to be honest, as we spoke about before, Ryan Ford does the kind of switch from MMA to boxing. No one really thought anything was going his way anyway. Mm-hmm. Pretty padded record, and I think he's angling for a rematch, but I don't think he'll get one.
No, Boatsy will be onwards and upwards.
Boatsy will be moving on, yeah. Then, the shittest of the Furies versus Alexander Povetkin.
So you're jumbling your sequence, if you don't mind me saying. Because that was on second. That was the co-main.
Oh yeah, it was on second last. That was the undercard, wasn't it? Because should we talk about Edwards versus Aguilar?
I hadn't helped the casino by that point, so yeah.
Had you not? Right.
I've seen it since, but yeah.
Now I think and I can't remember what episode we talked about this. Was this our What the F are the Unknown Rules of Boxing episode?
Yes.
You guys should hail way back to this one because we talked about the thing that happened with the Edwards versus Aguilar event where the fight was ruled a no contest because there was a video referee due to this kind of strange event happening, which falls within the WBC's rules.
And if people had listened to our other back catalogue, they would have known that the WBC does in fact have the option to do video replays for critical events during fights, because you specifically, Ryan, I'll give you the credit, had researched it and flagged it up.
Exactly, and it's one of these things that's, go back and listen to it. It's a very interesting episode, but it was a strange one because obviously Aguilar absolutely pounds him on the ground. Now Edwards saying I took a knee because I wanted to recover. I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. I actually think Aguilar was really fucking pushing Edwards, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. And whether or not he was going to get back up, no one knows. But he was definitely not getting back up when Aguilar hit him in the liver on the floor at full fucking belt, mm-hmm, right? How Edwards didn't have broken ribs after that, I was really surprised. But there was all this commotion because at first Eddie Hearn's the British Boxing Board of Control, if they followed the WBC rules, we'd have this instant replay and then everyone would know this is a no contest immediately, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts licking on Salaman's balls big time. And he's like, oh, Mauricio Salaman, he's got a great stewardship of the WBC, so I am certain that they'll look at this and then the fight will be ruled a no contest, blah, 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 blah. Enter Mauricio Salaman, where he's like, yes, actually there was this agreement that we did before this fight took place with the British Board of Control that meant that we could actually have the video referee. So guess what? It's a no contest. It was all a bit okay, mm-hmm, right? I think obviously it's the right decision, 100%. But it's a bit backhanded, like, I don't know if there was definitely an agreement in place until, like, Eddie Hearn absolutely gobbed off fucking Salaman. Like.
Until Eddie Hearn winked at him during that speech. There's an agreement.
Totally. Like, if this fight had happened in Mexico, I don't know if the outcome would have been the same. Do you know what I mean?
But I thought the WBC have to. I mean, I thought that was a saying for all their championship fights. They have that. They review. They've got an instant replay for critical incidents. I didn't think it had to be like mandated for each occasion. I thought it was just in place.
I really don't know. I think we should probably look into it a bit more. That was my understanding, because when they initially like ruled Aguilar as the winner, I was like, well, this doesn't make sense, because I know that they can do video refereeing on this sort of shit in the WBC for championship fights. So I don't understand how this has happened. And there's all this really weird commotion. So whether or not the two, the British Boxing Board of Control and the WBC hadn't really kind of spoken about it until after Mauricio Solomon went over and went, oh yeah, by the way, we have this thing, right? So it's a no contest. But I think for the return leg, I think actually Edwards, whether or not he actually takes it on, because he did say making flyweight absolutely killed him. So whether or not this is like he avenges his belt or he moves up in weight, I don't know, because like he didn't look great.
It was always supposed to be quite a competitive fight, wasn't it? Really, but yeah. I mean, he was in trouble before the incident, wasn't he? He was, he was in a proper contest. He was in a kind of back to the wall situation already. Yeah, interesting.
So anyway, shittest of the Furies versus Povetkin.
Sweet Caroline.
Yeah.
So I think what the other songs. But something in Blue Jeans, Baby in Blue Jeans.
Oh, Forever in Blue Jeans,
yeah.
You know, he actually wrote Daydream Believer.
Did he?
That's actually a song written by Neil Diamond. It is indeed, yeah. He's written a bunch of songs that probably other people have made famous.
I quite like Neil Diamond. I don't have any issue with the tunes. Tunes are good.
He's actually got Parkinson's disease now.
Is he?
That's why he's not touring. Yeah, he's retired from touring.
Girl, You'll Be
like last year.
That's a good song as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. It is. You Don't Bring Me Flowers?
Yeah.
It's a duet with Barbra Streisand. I mean, the guy's hit after hit.
Solitary Man.
The Solitary Man,
indeed. Song Sung Blue, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway.
Shiloh? Yeah.
No.
Shiloh.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, we're digressing. The back catalogue of Neil Diamond is probably
ringing in my ears. But do you know what's interesting though? When you watch boxing and through choice or by circumstance that you don't have access to the commentary. In this case, by circumstance, and it makes you kind of. I think sometimes commentators lead you down a garden path. With fights. I'm not saying I don't know what the commentators were saying about this particularly, but it's interesting where you don't get this kind of like lead in terms of what might be happening, and you're left to your own devices in terms of your opinion making a bit more. I saw a lot of stuff in the press that said this was like a dog awful fight. I don't know, maybe it's because I was sat in a casino listening to Neil Diamond and I had a few pints in me, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite entertaining. I don't know. What did you find it entertaining or no?
I think the problem is, right, Alexander Povetkin is a 40-year-old man. So, like, he's only got, like, the first few rounds in him where he's going to be, absolutely smashing boys out. Hughie Fury, I just really don't enjoy his fighting style at all. And so I think it's one of these style makes fights kind of jobs where actually, like, it was good to see them fight each other, but at the same time, it's like, give us 12 months and no one's talking about this fight.
It's
just going to be a thing on the record. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean
it's not a classic. So I think it definitely shows Hughie Fury's level, though.
Yeah, I think his days as a contender. I think he has to do a rebuild job. He's not. Anytime he's fought someone of a kind of, I guess, world level, he's lost. He's not beaten anyone of note, really, has he? He's had quite a few occasions, and he's just lost them all. Not like been completely destroyed, but not really ever looked like winning the fights either. I think he doesn't do enough when he's running out of the way. The thing is, like, I think his big cousin is like seems to be makes people miss more and sort of like punishes them a bit more when they miss. He kind of
I agree.
He schools people more, whereas Hughie Fury's just like a bit elusive, but not that elusive.
And I do wonder if there's a point where, and I know it's very hard when your dad is your trainer, but is there a point where he needs to go, actually, I need to look beyond my dad in order to maybe change up my style so it's not in this particular mold, because it's not working for him.
He needs to start being more threatening. He needs to hit people in a way where it bothers them.
I know, or at least have the movement that's going to like cause issues for people,
Yeah.
And at this point, it's definitely not, because that's what makes Tyson so difficult, is that his movement is so fluid. He can then punish people ridiculously.
Yeah, agree. And he's kind of weird angles and stuff. Yeah, Hughie Fury's also not quite as tall, which obviously doesn't count in his favour. It helps if you're going to be elusive. It helps to be 6'9"
and have the arms of an octopus.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean it'll be a very interesting one, I think, because we'll have to look at how this works for him going forward. Is he now a gatekeeper fighter?
Well, yeah, I think he. The only thing in his favour is he is so young that he can rebuild and stuff. But he now, I think he's run out of passes for kind of world level fights.
Yeah,
I just don't.
I agree.
There's all the chat about how it's he had all that, that really bad skin condition and stuff. And they're saying, some form of adult acne and stuff, but it was really debilitating. And then he got over that because they got the medication. They're he's going to be 50% better than he was. But that improvement has never materialized. He doesn't look any more impressive a fighter than when he fought Parker, and that was a couple of years ago. He probably looks worse.
Yeah.
He certainly doesn't look any better than he did against Parker, and I think that was probably 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. I just checked. It was 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago. I don't think he's improved any. Anyway, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I don't know.
What are you gonna do? So, right, let's now talk about the big one: Lomochenko versus Campbell. I mean, you know what? I would say this was a really entertaining fight. And great on Luke Campbell, actually, because he did stuff that I did not think he was going to manage to do. Now, obviously, he got dropped, which, is, I think but not until late. And actually, because it was so late, Lomochenko never really managed to capitalize on it.
No.
But I would say that actually, he's got a good shot at taking on other high level operators.
Yeah, I think Lomochenko demonstrated that he's kind of on a different level. Even I think at lightweight, which is they're saying is he's kind of undersized to be fighting in that division. But he's so far ahead in terms of his technical ability and his movement that he's kind of able to he's still able to school people. So I think it's Yeah, I don't think it's Campbell isn't a really like high level fighter. I think Lomochenko's just like he's proving himself. I think now to be something of an outlier, and you never know. He might get beaten. He might get. But I think, he's kind of like he's sort of separated himself from the competition. He's not just an elite level fighter. He's something else. He's something different. He's like next level up from what that is.
I mean, he's out of this world. Other fighters are world level, but he's out of this world. And like my girlfriend was watching it, and she'd never seen Lomachenko fight, and she doesn't actually like the lighter weights usually because I think she's a bit hungry for a knockout, but like she was like, this man moves like I've never seen before, and I was like, I know. She was like, you can really tell that he did dance,
There's just a fluidity to his footwork that's not really anyone else has. I don't think.
No, not at all. So I mean, let's talk about going forward for both fighters. Lomachenko is eyeing up this last belt.
Yes, he is.
What do we think happens now between Teofimo Lopez and Comey? Does Teofimo try and take another fight? Does Bob Arum go, I want to eke this out for a while? So does Lomachenko end up fighting someone else in between?
Well, I think Lomachenko will end up fighting someone because I don't think that fight's going to get made until the end of the year. So I think the Comey Lopez fight is going to be no. I think that the talk is that I don't know if it's been confirmed, but the talk is that fight is going to be December. So you're speaking about at least like March, April, May before he could fight the winner, and they're saying that Lomachenko will fight again before the end of the year. But who will he fight? Because it can't be for a belt. There's none left. There's no other belts. No. And it's kind of like it needs to be like a high level guy. Don't know. So that's quite interesting to find out. There is obviously boxing's favourite idiot has announced. I know this is straying into random news. Boxing's favourite idiot has announced that he is vacating his belts and moving up.
Yeah.
So and that is, I think, about the biggest money fight he could be in. Probably would be to fight Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he'd want to take someone on like Devin Haney or even Mendy? Or are they too dangerous, do you think?
I don't think anyone's dangerous to Lomachenko. Apart from, I mean, I think Davis is massive for the weight, even though he's fighting weight below, and he's he can proper bang, so, you never know. I think he's as dangerous as anyone. But I still would heavily favour him to beat him. So I'm not sure. Not too sure. I'm not too sure who he'll end up fighting. It's got to be like a high level guy, but then you kind of go, well, who could he fight? Haney is fighting this weekend. Devin Haney's fighting on Friday night, no less.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Right. Well, before we move on to the fights this weekend, let's do our newest segment, the 6 Degrees of Danny Williams.
Okay.
Right, so actually, because of the fights this weekend, I wanted to do one in particular.
Right, okay.
Right? Now, these are all fights that have happened.
Okay.
Right? And I think you'll most certainly get this. Okay?
I don't like that kind of pressure. Right? Too much pressure.
From Tyson Fury to Danny Williams.
Oh, is it not just that guy we spoke about before? McDermott, has he not fought them both?
He has.
Oh, that was too easy.
I went nice and easy. But the interesting thing about Danny Williams is he fought John McDermott twice, right?
Oh, I've got another one. Has he also fought Derek Chisora twice?
Yes, he has.
And Tyson Fury's fought Derek Chisora twice.
Yeah. Indeed.
So they've all like double teamed each other.
They're all double teamed each other.
Right. Okay.
Which is really quite interesting, right? And I thought it was useful to I think it's useful to kind of look at these things, because actually, when we get into this heavyweight division crop where we are, it's pretty incestuous actually, and some of these guys are still like banging around, and they've been fighting guys for fucking ages. Do you know what I mean? Like they've been around for a lot longer than I think a lot of casual fans realize as well. So, with that in mind, let's move on to what the F are the fights this weekend.
Friday night from stateside, you have, as we mentioned just then, Devin Haney fighting Zaur Abdullaev. Haney's obviously very high. I suppose he's going from prospect to contender, isn't he? Really?
Yes. Kind of, yeah, he is.
He is contender level, kind of. So I looked up Abdullaev. I didn't know him that well, but he's decent. But Haney will be expected to win and win fairly well.
Yeah.
But still, I think it might be a good fight. Haney's good to watch. He's entertaining. Nice style. Good style. And also on that same card, you've got Sergey Kuzmin, conqueror of retiree David Price.
Yeah.
Retiree in that fight only. And he's fighting Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter's the lost at cruiserweight to Usyk, since moved up to heavyweight, despite being reasonably small height-wise, at least for a heavyweight. And he's making some waves. He's beaten... Who's it? Ustinov is he beaten? Or he's beaten Bakoli. That was a bit of an upset. And he's beaten, I think, someone else. Who else has he beaten? Anyway, Kuzmin was quite highly touted. He's got an O. And he was the one that beat David Price in a reasonably competitive match before Price pulled out injured. Michael Hunter beat...
And yeah, with that like elbow thing. Do you remember? It was the fucking worst.
Yes, he had the injury. Yeah. It was Ustinov. Yeah. Anyway, so this should be a competitive fight. I think at least the winner of that kind of propels themselves to kind of world fringe title challenger contendery type status. I think whoever wins that fight will be reasonably well. It will be a reasonable amount of interest in terms of the heavyweight scene regarding this one. So curious to see. I would put my money on Hunter. I like the boy Hunter. Look good.
Then like UK time, we have a York Hall card. On BT Sport, ESPN Plus. We've got Sonny Edwards on there, who is the brother of Charlie. He's fighting for a couple of vacant belts. So he's against Rosendo Hugo Guanaros for the vacant IBF International Fly title and the vacant WBO Intercontinental Fly title. Sonny Edwards is good, by the way. He's a good wee boxer. So, definitely worth watching.
And the atmosphere from York Hall is always banging.
Oh man, I wonder if there's going to be a riot and football fans fighting each other and all sorts of shit.
It always happens.
It's always happening, but it's almost a kind of like next gen card.
Like a BT equivalent of a next gen card.
BT equivalent of a next gen, but definitely worth a watch if you have a subscription to BT or ESPN Plus. Then Saturday, live from Las Vegas, Nevada, Tyson Fury versus Otto. Nobody ever heard of you, Wallin.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Do you know what's really interesting about this, right? We've obviously gone deep into Otto Wallin's record, right? But on the face of it, you look at a guy who's got 20 fights versus a guy who's got 28 fights. And you're like, oh yeah, on the face of it, that's quite evenly matched. Especially when what is Otto Wallin ranked, third with the WBA or something. And it's like, oh yeah, that sounds evenly matched. But then when you watch this, with the knowledge that, dear listeners, that we have given you over the past few weeks, you are going to know that this is a dog shit fight.
Well,
and Tyson Fury is going to absolutely demolish him in like 3 or 4.
It's going to be the same as he did in the previous fight. But like, to be fair, I think our listenership are informed enough to have come to that conclusion by themselves. They know dog shit when they see it.
And they can smell dog shit when they see it.
Can you believe this is box office again? Like, come on, man. This is outrageous.
I'd really, like, unless you are, like, a spunk all over Tyson Fury kind of fan, are you paying for this? Staying up and watching it? Surely not.
I don't think so. The undercard is not very good either.
No.
Anyway. Oh, what's your prediction then? What round is Fury going to win in?
So, I think they'll have been told they need to stretch... Well, Tyson Fury had been told they need to stretch it out, but then finish comprehensively. So, I'm thinking 4th round ends Wallin.
I'll go 5th, just for
the sakes of it.
Just because I can't go 4th, you know what I'm saying? Third seems too quick. Give the fans a little bit more dancing. Yeesh. The chief support is Emmanuel Navarrete versus Juan Miguel Elorda. Super bantamweight title on the line. Navarrete, I was like, hold on. When did he fight? He fought like a month ago. And he's fighting again? What's this all about? Anyway, the chap he's fighting is not very good. So that's kind of like a very much A-side, B-side fight. So I think that, and then the rest of the undercard was not particularly strong. I think this is pretty poor. This is a pretty poor effort of a card. And I, for one, will not be paying for this nonsense.
No, it'll be free on YouTube like the following day.
Yeah, legally, but yeah.
No, I reckon BT are quite good at putting up full fights like the following day.
Really?
Yeah, they're pretty quick with it. Yeah, like Sky Sports are getting down with it as well, especially for the undercard fights, because they just know people are going to steal their fucking content anyway.
So as well, getting it like official registered for the channel, and they get some money off the YouTube and that.
Yeah, they get the money off the YouTubes because they get the advertising revenue.
Yeah. Oh, well,
you know, so it's going good.
Very briefly, there is a DAZN Sky Sports card on Saturday night. Well, Saturday.
Oh, is there? Oh, right.
Well.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I just don't see that. Right. Okay.
Your boy's fighting as well, Ryan Garcia.
I do like him. I think he's quick, man. He's a good contender. He's not like coming up as quickly as Teofimo Lopez.
No, he's
but
not.
I think he's definitely a good contender.
I think so. I think this is a sort of slight step up in terms of who he's fighting. Avery Sparrow, which is a real name. But I think there's probably I think he'll be expected to win, but it's only like a little step up. So he has had the odd fight where he's struggled a little bit. So I think they're kind of like just sort of taking the foot off the gas in terms of his accelerated rise to the top, and that's the chief support for Jaime Munguia.
Ranked 7 by our lads at the Transnational Boxing Rankins Board.
The absolutely massive junior middleweight from Mexico. And he's fighting one of Ghana and Accra's favourite sons, Patrick Alotti.
So you know it's going to be a tough fight for him.
It's not on paper. It's not. Alotti's not as highly ranked as some of the other people he might have fought, but including was a rematch with Hogan he was supposed to have, but he kind of people saying he bottled it because he think maybe he lost that fight, although he was given the decision. But Alotti I think will prove a reasonable-ish test, but is not expected to seriously threaten Munguia's reign.
No. Right, well, then let's move on to what the F went wrong last week.
Well, your four-legged friend was fairly vocal throughout the episode.
He was very excited because he's a big fan of Lomochenko. I'm sure the followers of our Facebook page will have seen a picture of him lying down watching Lomochenko in awe, actually. And in awe. So that's maybe why. But it's also because I don't have the thickest of walls in my flat.
Is that through a wall?
Yes, through a wall, through a door, man. The thing is, if he hears something outside, I think he hears the lift move and it freaks him out.
Oh, bless him.
I know. Poor little bastard.
Also, I think my energy was a little bit off. I had come back from quite an energetic weekend. I've been, doing some kayaking, listeners, and I think it had taken a bit of a toll on me, and I was struggling with fatigue, so I can apologise. I can only apologise.
I think it was probably all the fucking midgies drinking your blood. I think probably didn't help.
Do you know, they weren't actually that bad.
Really?
Really surprisingly, they were actually not that bad. Yeah, there was one, the last night I was like, we're going to eat alive. We're like camped next to a loch, underneath all these trees and bushes. We're going to eat alive. And there was not a single one. Like, what is going on here?
That's really interesting.
But I was very fatigued, so I appreciate, I'm apologising if my energy levels were a little bit off, and hopefully I'm a little bit more perky this week, back to my usual chipper self.
Indeed. Well, let's move on to random news, because I think we have a lot to get through.
We do have a little bit to get through.
Should we start off by talking about the World Boxing Super Series announcements and fallout?
Yes. Let's do that.
Let's do it. So, Taylor Prograis announced it's happening, which is absolutely fantastic. Although I do think, and I think this is probably like promotional issues and stuff, but like I think that London is an odd place to host this fight.
I completely agree. It's an odd place to host it.
Either do it in America, do it in Scotland, or do it in somewhere that's going to give you a fuck ton of money, like Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something.
Agree.
I think it's a real strange one, and I think this has got to do with the promotional side of things not being where they should be.
So, just so if anyone doesn't remember, there was Prograis up until very recently was suing. I went as far as saying, this sounds irretrievable. I don't think anything's going to happen. He's not going to fight. And then he's obviously decided he's going to fight. But Prograis said he was making some quite strong accusations against the World Boxing Super Series, saying that they'd broken promises, missed payments, let down and kind of made false claims about money, etc., and been very disorganized with dates, etc. And he was suing them. So it's against that backdrop that this somewhat hastily arranged event seems to have taken place. Seems to have been,
because it was pretty much announced during like the Lomochenko Campbell fight is when it seems to have all happened, and it was going to be a co-main event where you had the Chisora Parker fight at the O2. I guess that must have been booked already. Chisora Parker, the O2 must have been booked for it already. And then they've gone, oh, well, we've got this like deal with Sky, so why don't we put on the Prograis Taylor fight there, because we need to get it over with so we don't get sued to fuck. And then all parties have agreed. And there is one very, very, very unhappy man about this. And his name is Mr. Derek Chisora. And he went to war, man. He went to war with fucking Eddie Hearn the other day. It was really bad.
Well, so I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about there's a thing that people can have, and it's not about whether you're argumentative necessarily, but about whether you're an agreeable or a disagreeable person. And if you're a disagreeable person, it means that you're not. It doesn't bother you to say things that might be, like unpopular. It means that you don't accept, and you don't just do things for the basis of kind of conformity, etc. I think it's fair to say that Derek Chisora is fairly comfortable being disagreeable.
in front of millions of people.
I think he actually gets off on it.
I think he does a little bit because, like, he was not afraid to air all kinds of dirty laundry. Because, like, I think this is a co-promotion as well because, like, David Hayes in the mix.
Everyone's
Everyone's in the mix in this because Hayes is now Chisora's, like, promoter. So that'll mean, like, Haymaker Promotions is involved. And so, you know, Chisora's just like, I want more fucking money now. I'm getting fucked with no Vaseline. I can't believe he actually says this at a press conference, man.
I know, you're fucking with the Vaseline. He says, why the fuck are they fighting here? These they're stealing my fans, are coming and taking me. These guys wouldn't sell fucking shit. They wouldn't sell a pay-per-view. And so if anyone's not watched it, it's kind of like, do you know if you get invited round to like a couple's house for dinner, right? and then they sort of get in like a big row when you're there, and you're like, this is like, I can't leave. I'm watching this, but I feel really deeply uncomfortable. That's what I felt like watching this press conference.
Absolutely, because there are points where he's saying stuff like to Sky as well. He's like, well, what the fuck do you think about this? Who the fuck knows what an Ali trophy is? No one gives an absolute fuck about that. he's from Scotland. Why is he not fighting in fucking Glasgow in front of fucking people who all pay for his tickets? He's from Louisiana. Why is he not fighting in America? This is fucking shit. Why are you doing this? Give me more fucking money.
Give me more money or it's off. They're stealing my fucking fans. They're my fans. We're the ones making this paper fucking view. But what was interesting was that Prograis was like, I'm number one, he's number two. That's why we're the main event. Because Chisora said, either make me the main event or give me more money. And Prograis like, well, we're the main event because we're 1 and 2. And he's like, your little guys don't mean shit. It's all about heavyweights.
Totally. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. You know? And like, I kind of see his point. I would say that co-main event makes sense, right?
But you've still got to have one that's like
higher up the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. And like, I don't understand how you would do it. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's all the shit show from the World Boxing Super Series that this is happening because they don't seem to be able to get a television partner. And what they've managed to do is alleviate some of the stress from Eddie Hearn's life by going, oh, do you want to put our shows on Sky and DAZN? And he's like, fuck yeah, I need more boxing. I don't have enough boxing. Do you know what I mean? He's like, yes, you have fighters. Yes, put fights whenever. Tomorrow? We'll put them on DAZN. Live from Tijuana. Like, just move them, go. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a ball ache. So, and I think that this doesn't do the World Boxing Super Series as a brand any good.
No, because it's sort of been enveloped by, I suppose they don't have, or they didn't have like their own sort of broadcast, like overarching deal. I suppose actually it was with Sky, wasn't it, in the end? At the end, sort of Sky picked it up. But it all feels a bit kind of like sticky back plaster sort of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sarland just like grinning there going,
like, did you see when they go to Sauerland and he's trying to speak? It's so funny. He looks so fucking awkward. He kind of looks like someone who's like been accidentally invited or has turned up somewhere that they're not supposed to be, but everyone's just going along with it. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, he looked really super uncomfortable. I thought Prograis, like I was saying before, you know, he said number one, number two. I thought he would have maybe, because I thought he was quite mouthy. I thought he would have maybe have stepped in and taken Chisora on and gone like, have you not lost like 50 fights, Derek?
Yeah, totally.
It's like, how many fights have you actually won? Are you not just a guy that everyone beats at heavyweight boxing? You're rubbish at heavyweight boxing, you know. That's why we're the main event, because you're like, you've lost like 20 times. You're fucking rubbish. Shut your mouth.
Oh man, I dare anyone to say that to Derek.
Well, he was probably a bit too close to him to do it.
Yeah, totally.
He will.
You'd want to do this from a very long distance or on Twitter, behind a VPN.
Yeah, you know
that man survived Robert Mugabe. Do you know what I mean? Like.
He just doesn't give a fuck, does he?
He doesn't give a fuck.
Anyway.
So,
Somehow I think this will not end up with him being pulled from the fight. I think this will be resolved.
I think it'll be resolved with Derek Chisora getting more money, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. But he's not going to get more than Parker. Like, Parker's a higher ranked fighter, isn't he? But maybe the fans, maybe more of the money would be down to Chisora. I don't know. Who do you think is going to win, by the way?
Ooh, I actually think Derek Chisora 3.0 chins Parker.
Do you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going
because,
Parker
remember, White is a rough and ready fighter, and he, really roughed up Parker. Parker couldn't deal with the dirty tricks, and if there's something Derek Chisora knows, it's dirty tricks.
But that fight was on a coin flip by the end. White and Parker, and there was a head clash that got ruled as a knockdown.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll go Parker.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So, what else do we need to talk about? We need to talk about Kovalev versus Canelo.
Yeah, this is
happening.
It's not been confirmed, but it's penciled in for the 2nd of November in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting if this does happen. The stuff I was reading was like, well, if it happens and it happens at light heavyweight proper, which I don't think Kovalev would agree to it being anything different. Canelo is big, but he's massive across the way, but he's obviously very small. And Kovalev proved that he's still, he's still got some skills, and he's a very big man. So, to be honest, it's very interesting. It becomes a very interesting fight, and because it's on DAZN, it's not like at least for the American viewers, they won't have to. It's not like a pay-per-view. They'll be getting to see a pretty compelling fight. I think it'll be pretty interesting anyway. So
definitely, as a kind of a freak show match.
Yeah, kind of like a very high-end freak show, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Enough to merit a watch. It'd be good. Well, but it's not, like I said, I don't think it's been confirmed as yet, but it's been penciled in for November.
Now, KSI versus Logan Paul is happening on DAZN, being promoted by Eddie Hearn, and these guys are going professional for it. I think this is just so they can take more money in. I watched the last one on YouTube the next day because it was free. It was a shit quality fight. I don't really. This will be for the kids, man. The kids. There's a freak show. That's a real freak show job.
Yeah, I mean the professional thing. I guess it gives it an angle, but I mean it kind of makes a mockery of people that are actual boxing professionals.
Yeah.
But anyway, what can you do apart from not watch it? Obviously, you can not watch it. That's what you can do.
Yeah. Definitely don't pay for anything.
Well, it'd be on DAZN, I guess. So if it's like people get a subscription, I guess it probably will be pay-per-view in the UK, will it?
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, all a lot of nonsense. Much more interesting to actual proper professional boxers. Scotland's biggest domestic dust-up in quite some number of years. Lee McGregor versus Cash Farouk in Glasgow, the Emirates Arena, November 16.
Nice fight. It's a nice fight.
Very nice fight. Nice to see it getting made as well. We like it when prospects come together. That sounds a bit dodgy. When they don't have to take these fights because it means one of them at least is going to lose the O. But they're both kind of highly touted young professional prospects. I think Farouk possibly slightly more so, but they both have got quite a lot of backing, and it's a real as high a level fight as Scotland could produce just now, I think.
I agree. Now, Usyk is debuting at heavyweight.
Yeah, he is.
Finally, looking forward to it. But, Andy, who is his opponent?
His opponent is Tyrone Spong.
That sounds like a noise that you make while you're putting together some IKEA flat pack.
Spong. Yeah, now, I tell you who Tyrone Spong is not. He is not Carlos Takam, who is certainly not. Who is a very legitimate person to make your heavyweight bow against. Whereas Tyrone Spong is not. He won a split decision against Yalto Pereira, who are keen boxing fan listeners may remember from his first round knockout defeat to aforementioned Mr. Martin Bacoli.
Airdrie's finest.
So if in the whole A beat B, B beat C, then C beats A or whatever sort of logic, then we are not supposing very much of Mr. Tyrone Spong on that basis, and this is a walkover. So a bit disappointed, really, to be honest. If he's talking about jumping right in terms of like the high level fights, then this is not a good kind of warm up to it. But I've got a feeling that maybe he's not sure about the injury. Maybe it's like a tester for the injury, and maybe he'll fight very quickly against a higher level opponent after that.
Yeah, I think so. And because I feel that he has been out of the ring for a very long time. A very long time.
Well over a year, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big deal for him to step back at the ring, and I think he should comfortably beat Takam, but he needs to get out of that ring rust. I think
that's I'm assuming that's the reason he's fighting such a low level guy, because he's been too long and he's not really sure about the injury, so he's fighting I guess it's like a spar, really.
Yeah, I think it will be, just to get him moving a little bit. Now, also, should we talk a little bit quickly about Errol Spence Jr.?
What have you got to say about Errol Spence Jr.?
Well, that he's fighting Mr. Sean Porter later this month.
Yes.
And I think that this is like a big one to watch, man. Because we have not seen Sean Porter fight for a while. And remember, the welterweight division is ridiculous.
It's hot.
And it's so hot, man. It's so hot. And we all know that Errol Spence Jr. is incredible.
Yes, I think that's pretty much a consensus, yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see if things start opening up for him. Now, I do have, I have a bit of I'll maybe come on to it a bit later, actually, because okay. I have something that's upsetting me.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but I just think that this is one that we haven't really mentioned that it's happening this month, and it's actually quite a big deal.
We have mentioned it before. We did mention when it was announced, but you're right. We haven't talked about it little recently. So it is on the 28th, I believe. Is it the 28th? 28th. Staples Center, California. Now, I'm wondering in terms of, it'll be on pay-per-view in the States, Showtime pay-per-view. I'm wondering whether or not it will be. Well, I'll be curious to see what's happening with it in the UK. It might be on that ITV hookup.
Maybe. Might be. That would be banging.
Nice. That would be very nice.
That would be banging if it was free ITV. Oh, fingers crossed, huh?
Absolutely. Let's see.
Right. Well, any more random news?
Nah.
Okay. Well, do you want to tell me, Andy, what grinds your gears this week?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, I will. Now, this was more relevant, or slightly more relevant last week, because it was something that Russia's favourite heavyweight Alexander Povetkin said. So, and I talk about this quite a lot in terms of what grinds my gears, and it's every time Fury's back in the media. He talked, when they say about Wallin being the best person that was available to fight, and he mentioned the kind of much higher level heavyweights and said, oh, they wouldn't fight me. And the one that I thought was odd, because I don't really think he's one to dodge people, and he's kind of at a stage where he doesn't really care, I don't think, is Povetkin. And Povetkin, who I don't really think I've got any reason to say is making this up, he said about Fury, he's talked a great deal about me turning down offers to fight him this year, which were never sent. And I'm inclined to believe him, so I'm once again annoyed with Fury talking, a combination of talking nonsense about all the people that won't fight him, while going out of his way to fight the most nuggety of nuggety nuggets with an O, while kind of fibbing about what's happening in terms of all the people he should be fighting legitimately. Because if he'd fought Povetkin, for example, that's a nice fight, totally legit. You can fight Povetkin. No one's going to go, oh, you're dodging anyone, oh, you're waiting for a while there. They'd be like, fair play, you're fighting Povetkin, he's dangerous.
Yeah, totally.
But instead, no. He fights Wallin, who was chosen, according to his co-promoter Bob Arum, because he's big like Wilder.
Yeah, ideal. But that's just like, it's just a visual effect. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is. It's a visual effect. He can be big like Wilder. He can, and he can be tall, but it doesn't make him as good as Wilder.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't make him have any similarities. Like, I mean, I'm 6'4", like, but I mean, I can't box. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. In the same way that Wallin can't box. It's just like, oh man. So that's what's winding me up, because I think Povetkin is telling the truth, and I think it just feeds into this whole scenario. So it's grinding my gears this week, Ryan. It's grinding my gears last week, and it's still grinding my gears this week. So, can I ask, please, this week, is there something you'd like to talk about? Something that might be perhaps grinding your gears?
You know what really grinds my gears?
All right, Andy, I have two things. One is smaller than the other. So
you should see the doctor about that.
So the first thing that's bothering me, right, is I have a little bone to pick with the Transnational Boxing Rankins Board on their decision making.
I can't believe. Well, go on then. I'm curious to know where you're going with this. I thought they were above reproach, to be honest, in our eyes. But anyway.
Well, no. I mean, I think it's healthy to have these discussions, but I am flabbergasted that they have Manny Pacquiao ranked as the number one welterweight in the world.
Yeah, I actually, and as number 8 in the pound for pound list as well. Yeah. I take massive exception to his inclusion in both of those positions in both of those lists.
You know, obviously, like, he beat Keith Thurman, who's 5th, so I could see he could be 4th. But you are not telling me that Errol Spence Jr. does not demolish Manny Pacquiao any day of the week, and that's why he's not fighting him?
I agree. I think Crawford and Spence both demolish him. And I think Thurman is not the fighter he was post-injury. We saw that in his last outing before against Lopez before he fought Pacquiao.
Absolutely. So, he's not... I just take real umbrage with it, because Errol Spence Jr. is a way better welterweight than Manny Pacquiao.
Yep.
Like, yes, Manny Pacquiao has done quite a lot, and he is definitely
That's something of an understatement.
He's definitely one of the greatest of all times across lots of divisions, but he's not better than Errol Spence Jr. at welterweight. There's just no fucking chance. And I would love one of the members of the Transnational Boxing Rankins Board to tell us why you've decided to do that, right? Because next time you have a meeting about it, I want in. And the other thing that I want to talk about is the shit show that is the World Boxing Super Series final between Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor.
Right, okay. Specifically.
specifically that this has, by tacking it onto this show, from I'm going to get a bit ridiculous here, but from a branding point of view, is a fucking stupid idea, right? If you're trying to create a brand, which these guys are trying to do, muddying the waters with a fucking, patchwork quilt Sky pay-per-view card is not the way to fucking do it. Even if you do something like they've done in the past, where they put it through another delivery outlet and they charge less money, or they take the hit or something, I don't know, or you go and you get a sheikh to pay you a bunch of money to put it on in a country with very little human rights. That's maybe something to do, but this is a really good fight. And, I actually think that they should be trying to promote it as a fucking great fight between two really good fighters.
Yes.
Not as we've got this fight we need to finish because this tournament has taken so long. So, have you got a Sky card we can stick it on? I just think it's a real detriment to how good these two fighters are. And I think it's a disgrace by the World Boxing Super Series because we're all excited about this fight.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this for as soon as the semi-finals were over. We talked about this being potentially one of the most interesting fights of the year, and one of the most high-level fights of the year. And I agree. It feels like they've just kind of added it on to a Sky card. I agree. I understand your point about branding. It just feels like there's no kind of it's got no kind of coherence. There's no sort of strategy involved. It's just get it done there before we get sued properly.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. They've gone, oh fuck, we're going to get sued. We need to do something quick. So, anyway, it is what it is. That's what was grinding my gears this week, Andy.
I like it. Very good.
Right. So, also, I have a little bit of big news for Listener Corner this week. Ooh. Right? Ooh. I don't know if you have been keeping your eye on the Boxing Unwrapped email account, right? However, it turns out that Boxing Unwrapped has been voted by FeedSpot and their panel of internet experts as one of the top 35 boxing podcasts on the internet.
Does it say how many they looked at?
There was a panel, right? But we're in there with all of the ones that you would know. So the BBC one, the one with those two fucking pricks, well, the one off EastEnders and the other guy. Right? But we've been voted by these people as one of the best boxing podcasts on the internet, top 35.
That does it say our rank, or are we 35th?
No, it doesn't say our rank. But we're in the top 35. I haven't gone into the list yet.
Wow. It's recognition for all our hard work, Ryan.
It is indeed. So, this was ranked by their panel based on several factors, including podcast content quality, episode consistency, age of the podcast, average number of shares on social sites, and traffic of your podcast.
Well, I feel all emotional. I'm not prepared to speech or nothing.
I know. So there we go. Thank you, listeners, for helping us grow. Even though you weren't on the panel, but there we go. But you can be safe in the knowledge that this boxing podcast is getting almost legitimate.
We can call ourselves award-winning now, can't we?
We can totally call ourselves award-winning now. How good's that?
Top-rated, top-ranked.
Top-ranked. Oh. And all the shit when we do media accreditation, we can say we were actually voted by a panel of independent judges as one of the top 35 boxing podcasts on the internet.
Nice. Loving that.
So there.
Loving that. That's great news. I feel all motivated.
I know, totally, yeah. It's totally. It's good shit. So, with that bombshell news, we will leave you for another week, and we will be back to discuss the Wallin fallover.
Wallin, we'll be back to discuss the falling of Wallin.
Fallen of Wallin. So, with that in mind, it's goodbye from me, Ryan.
And goodbye from me, Andrew. Where's my fucking money?